All right, final set of midterm review slides. This is it. This is kind of a summary of everything. Make the most important stuff on your graph stand out the most. That's all you have to do. And like I said before, you also have to get rid of everything else that isn't necessary and be really, really, really careful with color. Okay, so let's first talk about visual hierarchy. This is a set of principles that influence the order in which we notice the stuff that we're seeing. So visual hierarchy is leveraging pre-attention all the way. Arranging your elements to show their importance. How do we do that? We use page placement, composition, contrast, pre-attentive tricks like making some things different, creating groupings with the Gestalt stuff like enclosure. Control where your viewer looks on the page. If your eyes don't know where to go, if you're hopping all over the place, then your layout lacks visual hierarchy. All right, this is, I think, truly the single most important thing that I can pass on to you. It's all about the hierarchy, the visual hierarchy, and this is kind of the summation of everything that we've talked about. You have to organize your design, whether it's a graphic or an infographic or a plot or a map or all the elements on a formal map layout. You have to organize everything to make the most important elements more prominent and the less important elements less prominent by, again, using contrast and color and all these other things. Make sure you're aligning the message of your graphic, the intellectual hierarchy, with the visual hierarchy. So you need to know what the most important things are, and then you need to do the work to make sure that they are standing out the most. Okay, it's definitely up to you. So yeah, what's the purpose of the graphic? What elements are the most important? Use the tools that we've talked about to make those elements stand out, and then fade other things into the background. Important things, big, high contrast, high up on the page, bold, surrounded by a lot of white space. Less important, ancillary, supportive things, gray on white, low contrast, desaturated, low on the page. All the things that you can do to set them back. Don't draw circles around them. Don't enclose them. Don't put a drop shadow on them. All those things are going to work against fading them into the background. This is, kind of a cool example. We were talking in class about this the other day. Kind of the classic idea is if you've got a title, you stick it at the top center of the page. Well, no, compose around your most important elements, offset things. But if things are put to the left align them. Here I think they did a really nice job of really composing around the shape. This works just fine. But yeah, even tipping things sideways reduces the importance on the page. It's still the same contrast, but by rotating it, you're saying, okay, you're going to have to do work to read this. It's less important. So alignments, composition, balance, empty space, contrast. So remember to desaturate. It drops the importance. High contrast, it's fully saturated. It's very vivid. This is low contrast. Those are really great ways to differentiate things on your page and reinforce your hierarchy. Gestalt principles of proximity. Creating space between things sets them apart, creates meaning. Even here, the group on the right, it's still really easy to create groups there, right? Like a group of pants versus skirts or blue versus not blue. I mean, our brain wants to make sense of things. Our brain wants to make groups. So you have to be really careful to make these choices deliberately because your brain's going to want to do it whether there's an obvious separation or not. So white space is a really important thing to think about. I mean, there's a very strong hierarchy here. Big headline, interesting subheadline. I love this. This looks like something I would have made. Your image. We've got paragraphs that are separated, so we're creating, this is Gestalt stuff, creating these groups. But by giving a little bit of space, this is just so much easier to take in. It's a lot more professional, it's more restful, and it does create a hierarchy. It creates more groups. It's easier to consume. Catchy title, we know because we're employing size, high contrast, the layout conventions, texture, things like that. Changing it up, italicizing, smaller. This is a different thing, but so is this. But these two might be related because the style is similar. So we can use things like text and color in addition to placement and grouping to relate things to each other. So yeah, and then this is just kind of driving it home. You will read this first. You are going to read this second, and then you'll read this last. It doesn't matter. Like, you're not doing it that way because they wrote those words. It's because of the contrast, page placement, size, the fact that this is black on white versus white on brown, and then sizing. It's brilliant. What's cool about this is it creates flow. We start here, trail down, wrap around to the top, and it brings you right back down to this. This is a really effective way to create energy and composition. And then finally, this is the super scientific way to assess your hierarchy. Squint at your plot, squint at your infographic, or squint at your map. Sit back from your computer and really blur your eyes and ask yourself, what's jumping out? Is that what I want, people to literally be looking at? Okay, I do it all the time. Squint. Notice how you can't see the differentiation here. That's fabulous. Okay, just another reminder, the different ways that charts can lie. Bad design, questionable data, insufficient data, maybe no context, actually concealing things or creating confusion, playing up uncertainty, ignoring conventions, whether it's with color or having a bar chart start at 0 or pie charts that don't sum to 100%, and distorting, like with the proportional symbols. These are different ways that charts can lie. Statistics can lie, maps can lie, and it can be intentional, it can be editorial, it can be ignorance. So just be careful, protect yourself so that you're not the one making these mistakes, and also, practice good chart reading, practice your critical thinking, bring what you know about charts and plots to reading charts and plots. And remember confirmation bias. We want to see the things that agree with what we already believe in. Be critical. Be a critical thinker when you're looking at the stats or the maps or the charts that people are putting out there. And remember these red flags. When your axes aren't labeled, or when units are missing, when axes are truncated, so it starts or ends in a misleading place, when numbers don't add up right, or that example of a cumulative line plot versus just a regular line plot, breaking conventions, using the wrong graph type, like that awful one that we talked about where it was the car manufacturers and they used a bar chart to encode what country the car manufacturer was made in. Cherry picking data, choosing not to show full context, distorting perspectives, not including a title or annotations or data credits, and no kind of legend. And Edward Tufte, one more time. This is a mouthful, but it's awesome. Graphical excellence is that which gives to the viewer the greatest number of ideas in the shortest time, pay attention, with the least ink in the smallest space. Data density, no chart junk, pre-attention, all those perception tricks, more data density, and there you go. And then last but not least, the data visualization commandments. Have something to say. Message trumps beauty. Use the right graph. Number 2, minimize crap. Edit yourself. Have a clear message and focus. Get rid of all the other stuff, including color. Number 3, layout matters. Think about your design principles. Color is power, and don't accept the defaults. Number 4, use your words. Don't be afraid of annotating, using captions. Use an arrow to point at the thing that you want your audience to notice. It's okay to do that. Be very transparent with your data credits. Number 5, don't lie. Don't mislead your reader. Look back on the last couple slides. And finally, regurgitate, meaning share. Share your plot, critique, iterate, improve it, edit, edit, edit. And know your audience, right? It's really important. And I'll leave you this one.